A very good evening and welcome to the India Development Debate. I'm Tamanna Inamdar and I'm glad to speak with you on this Monday evening. So what do we have lined up for you? Well, it's been a very newsy day. Let's quickly tell you what's on the show. First up, we are looking at the start of the festive season and we are going to delve into how much hope, succor can this festive season give businesses. Will consumers come back and start spending money? Can this be the period, the next 2-3 months, which is crucial for business for things to turn around? That's our first big story this evening on the show. We are also going to take a close look at the big political story of the day, which is the Congress Working Committee meet. At the end of which it was decided finally that Sonia Gandhi would continue as interim president. So the more things change, the more they seem to remain the same. Now, big voice of the day, you will also hear from top executives of the Mahindra and Mahindra group. So all of that lined up for you. But let me begin first with the big story we're talking about. Now, the festive season is vital for consumer-oriented companies, and the Indian consumer has not really been in the mood to spend over the last few months, understandably because of COVID-19, the lockdown, the coronavirus pandemic, and also because there is a fear of a loss of income. Consumer confidence has been at lows as per the latest RBI data. So can things change in this festive season? Well, retailers are definitely, and consumer-oriented companies are definitely giving it their best shot. What can really change the paradigm is what we're going to talk about today. Joining me now to break down the importance that the festive season will hold for Indian business, the Indian economy, and whether consumers will actually come back and shop. I'm speaking today with Rajat Wahi, partner at Deloitte India. I'm also pleased to speak today with Nikunj Sanghi, chairman of ASDC and director at FADA, who's going to talk about what's happening in the automobile sector. Nilesh, Gupta, MD of Vijay Sales, also joins us on the show this evening. Welcome to all of you and thank you for speaking with us on the India Development Debate. Mr. Gupta, let me begin by getting your take on the optimism that you're seeing for the festive season. Firstly, do you think things have improved since June, July, August?
Tamanna, one thing is very clear is consumer durable industry is a little different, and we have seen gradual improvement to such an extent that this month we are seeing more or less 90-95% of what we were pre-COVID, or if I say like to like month if I am comparing. So we are seeing a gradual improvement, and we hope for a good festive season. But entirely, if you ask me, it all depends upon how the COVID virus is going to take shape from now till the festive season. But the improvement is quite phenomenal in our industry.
So, Mr. Gupta, the analysts we've been speaking to, they assess that for consumer durable segment, 50% almost of annual sales come between August and December. So, the festive season in that sense is vital. Would you concur with that, how crucial the festive season is? And what do you think are the factors that will push this? Are we going to see deep discounts, some innovation in terms of promotion, easy financing to kind of push those numbers?
See, there's no doubt that the festive season is the main stay for the annual turnover for our industry. But at the same time, I think this is going to be a new festive season. This is going to be a very new way the festive season will approach. So I think it's not going to be more of discounting and all, because at the same time, currently what we are seeing is there are certain categories in our segment like laptops, mobiles, large screen televisions, kitchen appliances, dishwashers. They are already in short supply. And so I don't think so that this year Diwali would be more of discount. Yes, there would be exchange offers which would continue, and there would be easy financing which would be there. So I'm repeating myself, okay, now after the food, I think consumer durable has become the next essential, and being at home, work from home and learn from home, these two categories have, because of these two change in lifestyle, I think the consumer durable has the need has become much more important. So we are hoping that this Diwali, we should be able to do our numbers what we were doing every year.
Oh, okay, that's pretty optimistic. Rajat Wahi, do you share that optimism overall? If you look at different buckets and different segments, you have the retail space, you have consumer durables, FMCG, automakers also are betting on the festive season. Do you think this is going to be a very different kind of festive season this time around? And what would be the crucial parameters that you would be watching out for?
So I think, yeah, I do agree with Mr. Gupta to a great extent. I mean, clearly across categories, we are seeing different consumer behavior. If you look at FMCG, most companies are saying that they are at 90-95% of pre-COVID levels, still behind this year's plan, but at least they've more or less caught up on the volumes. On a simpler product portfolio, albeit, I mean, many companies have reduced the product portfolio, made products slightly simpler, focusing on the essential categories, not so much on the indulgent category. So there is clearly a bit of a change in consumer behavior as well. So across categories we are seeing. So if you look at apparel, accessories, if you look at non-essential categories, especially products that are sold offline in malls, that's had a huge impact. Just talking to various mall operators, and I'm sure Mr. Gupta will agree with that. And the footfalls are still at 25-30% of pre-COVID levels. People are not visiting the malls; they're visiting high streets. So I think in the last 2-3 years, we have seen a big shift towards malls, where the big shopping was happening because of the food, because of the overall entertainment element. And that part has had a huge impact. So obviously, a lot of shoppers have shifted to online shopping. But across various categories, we are still seeing 30-40% of the pre-COVID numbers come back, other than electronics, obviously, because to his point, a lot of these categories have become essential. People are at home. They want to watch a lot of entertainment. There's also learning at home. The whole family is spending time together. The cinema theaters are not open. So all of that is impacting behavior. And to that extent, different categories, different results, moving to smaller pack sizes in rural, bigger pack sizes in urban, because people are consuming as families. So there are big shifts in the way consumption is happening. But clearly, the trend is strong. When I'm out in the market, I was out in the malls this weekend. A lot of footfalls, a lot of people there, even with masks on. People were in restaurants and cafes. So clearly, it is changing. And I think you're seeing more and more people get confident and comfortable coming out. Traffic is has also increased over the last 3 to 4 weeks. So I think there are positive signs. And my sense is that by the time we hit the festive season, we will be looking at a very, very strong performance across many categories. And even this last few days sale that the two big platforms had between 6th and 8th of August, or say 7th and 9th August, fantastic results across most categories, including mobile phones, electronics, apparel. So clearly a big uptick in consumer sentiment, and people are starting to spend again.
Well, what is the base, though, that you would consider, Mr. Wahi? Because, so far we've spoken about categories which you would concentrate in urban areas. But overall, considering how big a proportion the festive season actually contributes to overall sales or annual sales, do you think that there will be a need for innovation and looking at this space differently? Do you think people are going to be willing to make more discretionary spends over the next couple of months?
So I think it's yes and no. I think the period of discretionary spends and really holding back and maybe a bit of revenge buying seems to be over. We seem to be entering a normal phase of living. At the end of the day, there is a life people have to live on. Whether you're working from home, starting to visit your office. Clearly certain areas, whether it's formal clothing, a lot of sort of dressing up for social occasions. There are not that many occasions right now. People are still not meeting. Clubs, restaurants are still not operating at full capacity. Obviously, alcohol consumption not being allowed in restaurants having a big impact on footfalls as well. I was at one Horizon over the weekend, and all the restaurants I spoke to said that obviously as the alcohol and liquor licenses are renewed, they are expecting to see a much larger footfall. But right now, it's still very, very less. So clearly, I think that I think that there is going to be some level of cautious buying. But I think there's also a return to normalcy as people are not able to visit malls or not. Visiting malls at this stage, they are going to start consuming and buying many of those categories online. But having said that, between now and Diwali, which is still 2 months away, my sense is that we are going to start to see a lot more return to normalcy as people get more comfortable with living with COVID, with all the precautions and masks and social distancing. There is a trend, and you can see that in every other country, right? You can look at UK, you look at most of Europe as it's opening up. There is a return, really a strong return to normalcy. People are out, shopping in various shopping centers, eating out. So I think some of that is coming back. I don't think it's all doomsday. My sense is, to Mr. Gupta's point, that many categories by Diwali would be hitting pre-COVID numbers or even ahead of that. But obviously, certain categories like formal apparel and social apparel, anything related to QSR, anything relating to weddings, occasions, big occasion shopping, that's still getting restricted because people don't have that reason to buy. So I think that there may be a change on that.
One of those categories which you could perhaps put in that bucket is automobiles. Mr. Sanghi, great to have you on the show again. Why the optimism, or where is the optimism coming from for the automotive industry? There are a slew of launches, and obviously these were pre-planned before COVID hit, etc. But do you really see the kind of festive buying that you would hope for the automobile industry to actually come through this time around, and what would push it?
So I guess one major factor is that the rural demand is really coming back very, very strong, much stronger than the urban demand. And I think therefore what we are seeing in automobiles is a frenzy, I would say, a frenzy of buying at the lower end of the market, whether it is four-wheelers or two-wheelers. And we are reasonably hopeful that the festival season will be strong, will be very, very strong. And we are keeping our fingers crossed. But like Mr. Gupta said, that a lot depends on how the coronavirus behaves from now up to the festival season. Please note that the festival season this time is almost about a month late because of the phenomena of something called the Adhik Maas. And it will only be by the end of October that the festival season really sets in. So I think we need to be watchful, we need to be careful, but we definitely are looking at a positive sentiment returning in the first festival season. The monsoons have been good, rains have been good. I think sowing has been very good. So I think we're looking at positives, specifically from the rural sector.
You talked about a frenzy of buying, and that's really, good to hear after, I think, ages, especially for the automobile sector at the lower level. Can you give us a sense of where do you think that kind of demand is going to come in from? Is it pent-up demand? Because the whole sector was hitting, on sort of the last gear even before coronavirus came through.
So I guess where I'm coming from is that please appreciate that mass transport has not yet resumed. Trains are not operating, buses are not operating. And specifically in rural area and semi-urban areas, there is no mode of transport available. As the economy is opening up, as businesses are opening up, as institutions are opening up, the need for mobility is there. And if there is need for mobility, you definitely need. So a lot of people who used to use only public transport are the ones who are feeling a need to have their own transport. It's not so much to do with personal security and safety. It's more the need to be mobile. And I think when we are talking to our customers, a lot of customers are saying that we have no option to but have our own mobility because public transport is just not available. And I think this is more need-based than desire-based that we are seeing. And therefore, I guess we are seeing a lot of movement at the lower end. So if you look at portfolios like Maruti and Hero, which are very strong, both in terms of their entry-level segments and their presence in the rural market. Their footprints are the largest in the rural market, and they are definitely getting the maximum benefit out of this need for buying the lower-end automobiles.
So personal utility is kicking in, and of course, you have the occasion and sort of the excuse to buy during the festival season. Mr. Gupta, I just want to get your take on this rural upsurge with both, Mr. Wahi and Mr. Sanghi are talking about. Are you seeing signs of that? And how hard does it hit you that more and more people are getting ready to buy online, even bigger ticket items? Have footfalls improved?
In fact, on the rural side, I would not have much ideas because most of our stores are in the urban areas only. But as far as online is concerned, I think there is no doubt about it. Many people are moving on to online, and we have also joined that bandwagon. And we are seeing a lot of uptake on vijaySales.com also happening. So you will have a few customers who will definitely go online and buy. And it's not only online buying. We have also started where customer can call us and we can guide them, and we can possibly deliver it on telephone also and guide them how to buy it. So now this is going to be the new normal. I think where there will be few consumers who would come in the store and want to pick it out personally. There will be a few customers who will buying online, and there will be few customers who want a mix, a blend of both, as well as some assistance on telephone. So there is a change happening, and as also another thing which I feel will increase the consumer buying is all the people who have not lost their job and who are getting salaries during the lockdown period, or 70-80% of the salaries during the lockdown period, they did not spend money because they were not going out, they were not going to movies, they were not going to malls. Plus, the major thing is they also missed out on the vacation, which they always planned. So I think there is some money in the kitty which is saved. So people whose jobs are assured, I think they are the ones who are going to improve. They are the ones who are going to come into and buy more during the festive season also.
You know, I hopefully there are more of those people whose jobs are assured and who are feeling that kind of, assurance than was previously known, because consumer confidence is not looking great. I'm just reading out some of the RBI's data from their consumer confidence survey for July 2020, and they say consumer confidence has plummeted to 53.8 in July 2020. The current situation index has fallen to an all-time low. The future expectations index did finally chart into positive territory, and hopefully we will see some of that coming in. They also said that most respondents reported a reduction in discretionary spending. Mr. Wahi, I want to get a sense from you on how things are going to be different. We've touched upon, very briefly on how more things are going online, etc. But do you think this is also going to be a challenging time for retailers, for businesses to recraft their proposition to consumers around the festive season, if they want to tap into some of that latent, festive season demand? Maybe smaller packs, different kind of offerings, more utility-driven offerings?
I mean, clearly, I think one of the big changes has been, if you look at across categories today, offline has dominated the business across categories, 80-85%. I mean, the fact that if you look at the total retail business in India of $850 billion, e-commerce still accounts for only 3%. Modern retail accounts for 9%. So we are primarily an offline retail country, right? All the focus has been in offline stores, whether it's high streets, malls, shopping with the touch and feel, getting the service, when we go to the stores. So there's a huge shift now, and all the clients that we are talking to, all the brands that I'm talking to, there's a big push towards rapid commerce, rapidly digitizing their businesses, moving online. But there is a whole challenge around that. How do you serve the customer? How do you maintain that experience? What is the cost to serve the customer? How do I make the delivery more efficient, especially for higher value products? Is the customer going to engage? So there is this whole D2C model will take time, and many companies are rapidly, scaling up their businesses to be more online now. But again, you have to still remember that online, even if it moves from 3% to 5%, 10%, even during this time, we are primarily an offline country. Offline retail is what drives the business. So I think companies are going to have to figure out how do you work better in this whole what we call blended commerce or omni-channel, where a customer can see a product online, go into the store, like it, still get it delivered home, whether it's directly from the dealer or partnering with somebody. So there's a big tweaking of models already happening. Early days to say whether this will be permanent, because once there is a cure and people are back in the malls and back in the stores and footfalls again increase, are we going to then be so dependent on ordering products that we want to touch and feel online? Probably not. But clearly there is a shift on basic products which are easy to order online, where we don't have to visit a store and park and all the other hassles. So clearly there is going to be a move. And our expectation was that online will become 5-6%, maybe 8% over the next 3-4 years. That could become 12-15% now, because there is a clear shift in certain categories. But I still think that, and to that extent, companies are going to adapt. They are already adapting. They're coming out with a different range of products. Pricing models are changing as well. And to Mr. Gupta's point, they don't need to do a lot of promotions right now because consumers are willing to buy today because the discounting, is not required. They want the product. Most products are out of stock. Even if you saw the data coming out of the big day sales from these platforms, many products sold out within the first day. TV models sold out. Mobile phones more sold out. Many laptops, new models sold out. Even the various Chinese brands where there was some apprehension, people were not going to buy. They had a phenomenal 2-3 days as well. So clearly, consumers are buying. They are going to continue to buy, but there is definitely a change in model, and we are going to see a lot of companies start looking at D2C model, which is direct to consumer. How do I reach the consumer directly? How do I talk to the consumer directly and engage with them directly?
Absolutely, absolutely. It can't be business as usual. Mr. Sanghi, coming to that point, I mean, I know car makers are not really in a mood to reduce costs or, give discounts, hefty discounts, which usually come around festive season because A, there are those BS6 transition costs coming in and it has been a fallow period before. But in your view, what are the categories which will do well? Are you looking at sort of a resurgence of your two-wheelers or your smaller four-wheelers more than that whole SUV craze?
So I guess smaller two-wheelers, I would count compact SUVs in the smaller category because I think compact SUVs are family vehicles and therefore you can shift you can still see a lot of excitement happening in the compact SUV segment. So, and of course, in two-wheelers, entry level is definitely the one which is going to be the biggest gainer. The change that we see, Tamanna, in behavior as far as the manufacturers are concerned, that most manufacturers are now focusing on manufacturing products and variants and brands which sell most. So they want to maximize volume. So even if it is a low contribution model that they are manufacturing, but they want to definitely capitalize on volume and not so much on contribution. So I think whether it's Hero or Maruti or Mahindras, I think all of them are focusing on brands which sell, variants which sell, and I think that's going to be the way it is. I think we will see some caution coming in when the moratorium really gets over on 31st August. And how the finance companies behave, how the banks behave post-moratorium is one thing that we need to see. And I think we also need to see how Onam happens in Kerala. I think that will be a very big indicator of how festival demand is going to return, because Kerala Onam is the first big festival and Kerala accounts for a huge market share when it comes to specifically the entry-level segment of cars. So we are all very carefully watching what happens in Kerala during the Onam period. I am told there are good positive reports. The bookings are there. Conversions yet are slow, but they are hoping by the time the month ends, this is an entire auspicious month for Kerala. By the time the month ends, the conversions will get better. And I'd keenly watch what happens in Kerala, which will be a fair indicator of what happens in the rest of the country when the festival season kicks off in the north. The festival season definitely contributes to almost 30-35% of our annual retail.
It is the key and very crucial point. There has been a rebound in other markets. I mean, in Wuhan, they're throwing pool parties. But the real question of whether the Indian consumer is back in the groove and feels like spending will be answered over the next few months as the festive season truly kicks off. For retailers, for companies, for businesses, it's not going to really be enough to just wait and hope that they walk in. They're going to have to come forward with innovations as the times have changed. With that, I want to thank all of you for joining us on the first big story this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye.